Night literally turned into day. Night turned into day. They thought it was the second coming of Christ.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of We Are Not Alone. May K. Beeler here with Queen City News Plus. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got a really special show today because we have got somebody who is back by popular demand. He is an expert in UFOs and UAPs, having investigated over 50,000 of them. If you're a fan of the show, you have seen him before. Michael Schratt coming to us from California. These are some of the renderings he has created. Michael, welcome in. We're so glad to have you join us yet again.
Thank you, May K. Great to be with you.
Michael, you are very popular. People,
give it a shot.
Oh, people love your stuff. And I have been very excited about revisiting with you today. We didn't have a whole lot of time last time. Tell us before we get started, we're going to look at these renderings. What are they? What do they mean? What do they represent?
They represent the best possible effort to maintain an important part of our national history and make the cases come alive. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, so I want people to understand these aren't stick figures. These aren't drawings from a pigment of your imagination, not something you've seen in a sci-fi movie or a book. These depict real, actual, historical cases, and some maybe that have never seen the light of day. Is that correct?
That's correct. And they all have paperwork and documentation to back them up.
Right. And you've been doing this for over 25 years?
Long time.
A long time. Let me ask you before we get started, because we have 5 cases we're going to talk about today. Since you've been doing this for 25 years, what has your impression of UFOs, UAPs, how has that changed over the years with what you have learned and investigated and discovered?
What I've learned after looking at so many cases now is that there is absolutely a man-made component to this. Now, I'm not saying that everything is man-made, because if you go back into the historical archives, we've got cases from the Roman times of 100 BC where they thought of these as flying shields. So this goes back quite into the past. However, when you're looking at these cases, there is a common denominator running through a lot of these cases. For example, many witnesses report tubes, pipes, and cylinders on the bottom of the craft. Other people report prongs with spheres at the end of them. So there's absolutely a man-made component to this.
Interesting. And that's what I really like about the interviews we have done with you, different perspective of what UFOs and UAPs are. And you are an acclaimed military and aviation historian. You are a pilot, so you're most certainly tuned into this. So let's get started. What case do you want to start with today?
We're going to start with Cash Landrum.
Okay.
Cash Landrum case. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what is that? When did this happen? And why is it important?
That's okay. So hopefully we've got our illustration here. So the time frame is December 29th, 1980, Huffman, Texas. We've got 3 eyewitnesses, and that's our great illustration. 3 eyewitnesses. We've got Betty Cash, we've got Vicki Landrum, we've got Colby Landrum. It's 9:30 p.m., December 29th, 1980, Huffman, Texas. They're going south on 1485 highway. Colby Landrum is sitting in the back seat, and this is top 3 within ufology. Top 3. It's right up there. You know, this made it all the way to Unsolved Mysteries. So this is a huge case within ufology. Colby Landrum was sitting in the back seat, and he saw a white light approaching, and all of a sudden, night literally turned into day. Night turned into day. They thought it was the second coming of Christ. They didn't know what they were looking at. What they saw was a 90-foot tall double ice cream cone that was connected at the wide ends. Around the outer circumference, there were porthole windows that were lit up. Now, Betty Cash was driving the car. She slammed on the brakes because this thing was parked 150 feet in front of her vehicle. Vicki Landrum went forward, put her hands on the dashboard, and her hands and fingers were melted into the dashboard. So already it's strange. And it's cold at night. Betty Cash gets out of the vehicle, opens up the door, walks toward the front hood of the vehicle. She's watching all this. Now, this craft is bobbing up and down. There's blue colored flame coming out of the bottom of it. So every time this craft would go down, a blue colored flame would come out of the bottom of this thing. And it was making a beeping noise, like a proximity indicator was going on. This is all what's going on here. She looked at this craft at close range for at least 3 minutes. And when she started to walk back toward the driver's side door, she reached down, touched the handle of the door, and burned her hand.
Oh my
She
gosh.
burned her hand on the handle of the door. She had to use the flaps of her leather jacket to open up the car door. Now, when she got back inside, it was so burning hot inside, they had to turn the air conditioner on.
Oh my
And it's December 29th, 1980. It's already winter out. But it was so hot, they had to turn the air conditioner on. Now, within a matter of 3 minutes, there were no less than 23 double rotor Chinook CH-47 helicopters chasing after this thing with spotlights going after this thing. Now, within a matter of minutes of this happening, all 3 witnesses suffered from the severe effects of radiation poisoning. And they sued the government for $20 million, but the case was thrown out of court for lack of evidence. And that's how it went down.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I have to say, you're an excellent storyteller, but you're not telling a story. This is
real.
This is
This
a
actually
factual
happened.
account. And I wondered about that when you were talking, that when she put her fingers and the fingers felt like they melted on the dashboard and they got close to it. I wondered, surely if it was that hot, they would have had some type of radiation damage.
Yeah.
Do you know where they are today?
Well, Betty Cash is no longer with us. Vicki Landrum is no longer with us. Colby Landrum is the sole surviving witness of this case. Now, a couple things I want to mention. When all this was done, and I thought it's very curious that the Air Force tried to buy Betty Cash's car. If there's nothing to UFOs, why would the Air Force be interested in buying Betty Cash's car? Not only that, not only that, after this all happened, the Army Corps of Engineers, and this is from John Schuessler, the principal investigator of the case. After this happened, the Army Corps of Engineers came in, they dug up the pavement, and they repaved it. Okay. And then 2 weeks after that, they came back a second time, dug it up a second time, and repaved it a second time.
So they don't want to have no evidence whatsoever.
There was a big black circle where this thing almost touched down, and they didn't want any evidence at all. So this case has gone to the very top. It's known all around the world. It's the Cash Landrum incident. And we will not forget the legacy of Betty Cash and Vicki Landrum. We won't do it. We will. What I believe this is, Maykay, is one of ours. This is one of ours, a NEPA program, nuclear energy for propulsion of aircraft. There was a hull breach on the reactor, and fissionable material came out and spewed up and poisoned the whole area. And that's how they got the radiation sickness.
Oh my gosh. I was going to ask you how you made sense of it. So so let me ask you this. If it's our military, our top security folks, why do they put it in a public place like this where a car can drive up to it on the road?
It was a test flight that went wrong. There was some type of malfunction, some type of problem. And the helicopters, there was a UH-1 helicopter also there. And we believe one Sikorsky sky crane was present too, with a net, to evac this thing if it went down. Now, here's the thing. 2 witnesses already dead. Colby Landrum is the only sole surviving witness. What about the helicopter pilot and crew? If you calculate how many we're talking, we're looking at 90 other witnesses know about this. They were there that night. The helicopter pilot and co-pilot and the crew members. Why haven't they come forward?
Right.
This is one of the most deep classified, black budget, unacknowledged special access programs that we have. To this day has not been declassified.
Because it was classified, forgive me for being morbid, would they have tried to kill the witnesses in the car to silence them?
I don't think that. They were at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they just This thing was coming down on the pavement. There was a malfunction. It almost touched down, but didn't, but left a huge black burn mark on the pavement. And they wanted to cover up the evidence. And to this day, the United States government will not admit to this event.
Yet these folks had the sense of mind to go to court. And I guess they had doctor's notes, right? Saying they had
Absolutely. I mean, huge paperwork, but no, there is no such craft. There is no such craft, according to the government. And so the case was thrown out.
Fascinating. We're going to take a quick break, Michael. Yeah. We will be right back after this when We Are Not Alone continues. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of We Are Not Alone. Michael Schrout joins us today. He's an acclaimed UFO investigator who has researched 50,000 UFO, UAP incidents, many very high profile, historic, and some that have never seen the light of day. So, Michael, we welcome you back. The next case you're going to talk about, Colusa, California. Tell us about that.
That is correct. That is correct. Mm-hmm. So 1976, the primary witness, it's 11:30 p.m. at night, and he's watching television, not thinking anything of it. All of a sudden, May-Kay, the television conks out. The air conditioner concurrently goes out at the second time. So he's thinking, I don't know what's going on. He goes out of his building. He goes back to the circuit breaker box, and you can see him here. He opened up the circuit breaker box. Everything seemed to be okay. The next thing he noticed is the hair on his arms was standing up. The hair on his chest was standing up vertically. The hair on his head was standing up vertically. Not only that, it was sparkling and cracking. The whole localized area was permeated in the static electrical field. He looks up, and you can see in our illustration here, he sees a 140-foot diameter dish-shaped craft. Now, on the very top of it, it had a dome like we're always familiar with. However, this one was different. It looked like a lemon squeezer or one of those vintage orange squeezers because it had ridges on it. So that was seen. He also said that there were prongs sticking down from this thing. And then he said there were conduit pipes with frayed edges that I'm calling, they look a lot more like ramen noodles. That was seen as well. Now, off to the left, there was a similar craft that was half the diameter. So this main craft was 140 feet in diameter. The other ones were 70 feet in diameter. The one on the left was pulling power off the 500,000 volt power lines, causing them to become cherry red.
Interesting.
So we've got secondary effects here. It's a close encounter of the first kind because it's a visual sighting. It's a close encounter of the second kind because there were physical effects. The power lines were becoming cherry red. Now, at this point, this guy said, I don't know what I'm dealing with here. He goes inside the house. He wakes up his wife and two kids. They open up the blinds, looking outside the back window, and they see the large craft flanked on either side by two smaller craft, and they're pulling power off the 500,000 power lines. And then the large craft goes from a dead standstill. And if you look very closely, way in the back of this illustration, you'll see there's these low rolling hills. It went from its current position to hovering over those low rolling hills in the background and did it in less than 1 second. And they were 25 nautical miles away. It repeated the same operation, came back to its original position, did that in 1 second. So it had traversed 50 miles in less than 2 seconds and made no sonic boom back in 1976. Now, when he saw this, he said, you know what? I don't know what this thing is. I have no idea what I'm dealing with. We're going to get out of here. So he piles his wife and two kids in the pickup truck. They go screaming down the driveway at 90 miles an hour. The large craft is following them, goes over the cab of the vehicle to where the wife is, comes back over the top of the cab of the vehicle to where the driver is. They end up at the end of the driveway where the neighbors are. They pile out of the car, slam on the door of the neighbors. Two neighbors get out. So now we have 6 witnesses that see the large craft depart at a 45-degree angle.
All right. How do you make sense of this?
Well, I gave a lecture at International UFO Congress about this case, and it's been about 5 years. And a guy came up to me. He says, Michael, I know what those conduit pipes are. I know what those frayed edges are. I said, you do? And he says, yes, I do. And he said they're static wicks. They're used to dissipate static electrical charges within a localized field. Now, if you look at the trailing edge of airliners,
I was going to
you can
say
see
we
they
have
have
those on our
static wicks.
airplanes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Same thing. So it's screaming a man-made technology here.
Interesting. Why did
Yep.
it come back over the car though? If they're trying to get away, what purpose
Who
is that?
knows? Who knows? But they were racing down the driveway at 90 miles an hour. Yes, they were. Newspaper clippings, very well. It's about a 15-page report. There's drawings and sketches. This is our very best illustration, just to give people an idea of what this thing looks like. Now, before this thing departed, you see those prongs on the right and left-hand side? They retracted into the bottom of the vehicle, and then these gooseneck lights popped up too, which you can see shining down. And he saw all this, a very credible witness.
So that was wow. That was in 1976.
This is in 1976. So if we had this technology, Mackay, back in
Yeah.
1976,
Yeah.
what was Saturn V for? If we go back, the breakthroughs in this technology were made October 1954 timeframe.
Yeah. What was that for? Just to fool everybody or just
I
to
know. The implications are unbelievable. We talked about Challenger last time. Was Krista McAuliffe briefed on this technology? Why are we still using liquid rockets today when we've got this technology?
Well, that is so sad to think Krista McAuliffe and the others lost their lives.
I know.
That if that was needless.
It was needless. That's correct. Because we already have the technology.
This is mind-blowing. Yeah. Michael, have we seen these type of odd vessels since then? Any reports since 1976?
There's so many different configurations. We've got dish-shaped craft. We've got cigar-shaped craft. We've got triangular-shaped craft. We've got boomerang-shaped craft. Now all the rage is the flying platforms. So as we go through the decades, the configuration of the vehicles change.
I can't wait to hear about astronaut Gordon Cooper, but shall we move on to the Falcon Lake
Sure.
Canadian? Let's talk about that one.
This is another top 3 case within ufology.
Okay.
I mean, it's gone down in history. So bottom line is we have a gem collector. He's a rock hound. He likes to pick up minerals and different types of, he was very interested in rocks and everything. So he is near Falcon Lake, and here's our illustration here. Now, he was wearing leather gloves, welder's goggles to protect his eyes, heavy pants. I mean, he was prepared to do this. He heard some commotion in back of him, and he looks up and he sees 2 35-foot diameter dish-shaped craft hovering above his location. One of them departed, didn't think too much of it. The other one landed near his location within about 300 feet. And Mackay, it sat there for 30 minutes before he did anything. He got a real good close-up look at this thing. So he walks over to this craft, and it had kind of a dome on top. There were elongated slots wrapped around the outer circumference of the lower portion of the dome. Now, as he walked closer, he could see that there was a door that opened up, and he looked inside. There was a purple violet colored light coming out of this. He heard, you could call it voices inside that he tried to contact, but no one came out. So he wasn't sure what was going on. He tried to establish some kind of communication. Now, this craft levitated off the ground 12 inches, rotated counterclockwise about 15 degrees. And if you look very closely at this illustration, there is a red hatch section with small 16-inch diameter holes that looked like they came in from a CNC device. When this thing departed, it blasted some type of hot air. It burned the primary eyewitness. His clothes caught on fire, and the whole pitch pattern of this vent section matched up perfectly with the burn marks on his chest. Now, he got sick. He died just a few years ago, and concurrently through the years, these burn marks would appear and disappear over the years, but it was a very credible case.
So was this like radiation damage to his body?
Not necessarily radiation, but it did leave, according to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, it did leave a mark, a circular mark on the ground where this thing came down.
All right. how do you make sense of it?
Well, if you look at what's going on here, you've got high heat coming out of this. So I don't know if we could say it's ET, but he did hear some type of voices inside, and he spoke in English and Spanish and three other languages to raise someone, but he couldn't get anyone to respond. So this is one of these cases where we're not completely sure which one it falls on, but we could be looking at another man-made technology here.
Or it could be ET. I would have been scared to death. Why didn't the guy run?
Nope, he didn't. He walked right up to it, you know. He walked right up to it. Very good case. Physical evidence, very good case.
Okay, well, I'm blown away. I always am with these explanations. Let's move on to, little girl, I always wanted to be an astronaut, so I'm infatuated with astronauts. Astronaut Gordon Cooper from the 50s, had an experience at Edwards Air Force Base. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, this is 1957 at Edwards Air Force Base. Now, what they were doing, May-Kay, is they were filming the installation of precision landing equipment. That's our setting here. And they've got cameras going and they've got things and they're making sure everything is set up properly. They're recording all this, and all of a sudden a 25-foot diameter dish-shaped craft hovers over the dry lake bed. It retracts the main landing gear. It lands on the dry lake bed. It sits there for 60 seconds, hovers back up, retracts the landing gear, and then this thing departs at a medium rate of speed. And May-Kay, they got it caught on film, motion picture film. Now, that film was brought over to the lab at Edwards Air Force Base. It was processed. That's the point where Gordon Cooper saw the film. So he unreeled it. He saw the film. It was of good quality. He did not repeat. He did not run it through a projector. And then there was an Air Force courier who came from what we believe to be Andrews Air Force Base near Washington, D.C. Now, he had a briefcase, and he had handcuffed to his briefcase onto his hand. That film was put into the briefcase and then sent to who knows where, an underground vault at the Pentagon. So here is where we need to get Anna Paulina Luna involved in this, because we know this film exists. We absolutely know this film exists. And not only that, we know that the gun camera footage from World War II with the P-51s, we know that the gun camera footage from the F-86 Sabre jets during the Korean conflict, we've got the Vietnam conflict with UH-1 Huey helicopters. They had multiple sightings of UFOs going all the way to Desert Storm. These film reels and gun camera footage needs to be run to ground, needs to be declassified somewhere at the vault at the Pentagon, lower level. And May-Kay, if we can get this film declassified, released, and put into the public domain, we can have disclosure by lunchtime tomorrow. And that's
wow. We have only got like 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So is this military from another country, from an adversary? Is this from an ET? Is it from our government?
Well,
if they're not releasing, what do you think?
It was by intent. It wanted to be seen.
Yeah.
Whatever or whoever. But this film absolutely does exist. Gordon Cooper told us he held the film in his hand. We need to get this film. That's where we need the congressmen and senators in Washington, D.C. to go to the Pentagon and get this declassified. One other thing I want to mention is after World War II, over the Arctic regions, we had B-29s flying with literally dozens of cameras, motion picture film cameras running, where dish-shaped craft, about 100 feet in diameter, would pull in right next to the B-29 within 100 feet, would park itself in back of the trailing edge of the main wing and ahead of the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer while all the cameras were running. And this film exists as well. Daylight close footage needs to be declassified.
Michael, can you help make this happen?
I wish I could. I wish I had that kind of firepower, but this is deep within the bowels of the Pentagon where this footage is. And they've got warehouses of all the gun camera footage from World War II. None of that has ever been seen.
Wow. All right. Closing words. Why is this important? And what do you want people to know?
The reason why it's important is number one, it's part of our legacy. It's part of our history. It's part of our Republic, United States history. The other thing is we've all paid for this with our tax dollars. We own this. So we have every right to question authority. We talked about the First Amendment last time. This is something that we need to get declassified, and we can move this. We could literally be there by tomorrow at lunchtime and get this done. That film does exist. So the push is to get that film released.
Fascinating, Michael. Thank you for sharing this. We're going to have you back again because you have so many cases to talk about, and people love this. I can't thank you enough for your time and all the work you put into this, and the renderings are absolutely gorgeous. Keep doing what you're doing. Make it happen by tomorrow at lunchtime, Michael.
We will do it.
We need disclosure. So thank you to Michael Schrott, aviation historian, UFO expert, and we thank all of you for joining us here on We Are Not Alone. I'm May K. Beeler, and we will see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.